Alrighty, so it looks like we did have some few attendees join in, so we're going to go ahead and get started. For those of you who did just arrive, this is the Skills Kickstart session on Encompass Mobile Basics for Sales and Delivery with our presenter Jossie today. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take it away.
All right, morning or afternoon, depending on where you are, everybody. My name is Jocelyn Ironcloud, and I am a customer enablement specialist here at Encompass. Been here just over 2 years and spent most of my time on our CRM team, so I'm really excited to show you some mobile stuff today. So we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of syncing in Encompass Mobile today, and then we're just going to jump right into the demo. There's a lot of stuff we got to cover today, so we won't spend too much time in slides. But to start off, why is syncing so important? If there's one thing you can take away from this training, at least let it be syncing. Encompass Mobile does not have live data, so syncing is required to pull information down from the server and to send any information from your handheld up to the server. There's a few different ways that you can sync, and we'll talk about those here in a second, but it's highly recommended that you manually sync. And that manual sync is that blue sync button that we see here on the right in that screenshot, at least at the beginning of your day and the end of your day, but we really recommend that you do that after every single stop so that you have all the most up-to-date information throughout your day. So there's those three types of sync there at the bottom: the manual sync, the swipe down sync, and the auto sync. So let's talk about what those are. All right, starting out with that manual sync, that blue sync button on the home screen that we just saw. Manually syncing is what we call a push and a pull type of sync. So we're pulling information down from the server to your handheld device and then pushing any new information from your handheld device to the server. This manual sync is the most comprehensive type of sync, and this is usually what we're talking about when we're on support or anytime asking you to sync. We're usually referring to this manual sync. The second type here is the swipe down sync. This one's pretty similar to the manual sync. The only difference is this leaves out some of those bigger files. So pictures that you take on invoices or in surveys, or if you upload a customer's license to their documents, those won't be included in this type of sync. And this sync is not that blue button on the home screen. This one is done on the My Day screen, which we'll see here in just a minute. And then the final one is this auto sync. This one, you don't actually have to do anything to make this one happen. This one happens automatically when you're backing out of the invoice edit screen, which again, we'll see here in just a minute. This one is quite a bit different than the other two though. This one is a push only type of sync, which means that it's only taking information from your handheld and pushing it up to the server. You're not getting anything new from the server with this one. So the difference here is we're only pushing information about the invoice that you were actually viewing. So once you back out of that invoice edit screen, we'll push any information from that invoice, like the purchases or inventory or whatever you may have updated on the invoice, up to the server right away. Now, for all three of these types of syncs, it's really important to know that they all require some type of cell service or Wi-Fi. These can't happen without it. So for those of you working in really remote areas or with bad service, or if your device doesn't have cellular service, if you guys are using like iPods or some sort of tablet, try to sync as often as you can throughout the day. If you're at that customer that lets you use their Wi-Fi, or if you stop at a McDonald's or whatever it may be, try to sync as much as you can throughout the day. All right, we're just going to jump right into the demo here. So I'm going to switch over to our simulator. Perfect. Okay, so I'm showing you a simulator here. So obviously this isn't an actual device, and we're also on a test site today. So some of the things you might see today might look a little bit wonky because it is demo data, just as a heads up. But starting out, this is our clock in screen here. And not everybody is going to see this. This comes with a special permission called hourly employee. And if your role or your user has this permission assigned to you, you'll see this screen when you first log in. Excuse me. So the clock in screen, basically what it does is it creates a record on the time clock shifts table of your clock in and clock out logs, but really nothing special going on here, just a clock in, clock out. So I'm going to click clock in. And that's just going to bring us to our home screen here. So there's that blue sync button at the bottom, that manual sync button that you always want to start your day syncing. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that sync button. And here it's going to ask me for my username and password. And then I'm just going to hit sync. So what's happening right now is there's a bunch of information going back and forth from the server and from my handheld. This is making sure that my plan is up to date. All of my customer stops are up to date. Any tasks that I have to complete, the invoices that I'm completing today, making sure everything is good to go before I start my day. So there's a lot of things that happen down here in the progress, and then I can see the sync is complete. Let's go back to the home screen here. All right, so the buttons we're seeing here on the home screen, these are technically called mobile items. You will hear us fondly refer to them as Skittles instead, but we're only going to focus on this My Day mobile item today. This is going to be kind of your home base for where you'll live for sales and delivery. So let's tap into that. And I'm going to get an option here to pick between two plans. Usually you won't see this. This is because I downloaded two different plans today, a sales and a delivery plan, so I can show you both. Usually you'll just be taken right to your plan though. All right, so what we have here is just a list of stops. We have a few different ways that we can view our stops for the day. So across the top here, I have a few tabs. And this one all the way to the left is our service time tab. And this one is essentially like a calendar agenda type view for your stops for the day. And they'll be organized in the order of your planned start time for those stops. So I can see that I am already behind schedule for my stops for the day. This probably isn't the most commonly used type of view that we see people use, but this view can be really helpful to start conversations if, let's say, your planned start times aren't working out, or you don't have enough time to get between two of your customers, or say one of your customers has a really strict delivery window, and you're not making it to those in time. This is a great way to start that conversation to rework your route. Okay, and then the second view up here, the map view. This one's really handy, especially if you're covering somebody's route or you're new to a customer or your route. These put little pinpoints on your customers for the day. And when you click on those, you get a little pop-up that gives you the customers some basic information, but then you also get this little blue tile to the left here. Again, I'm on a simulator, so this is saying that I'm really far away from this customer right now, but if I were on a real device, I could tap on this little blue icon here and it would open up Google Map driving directions for me from wherever I am. So if I'm up in town here doing these two stops and I need directions to Brews and Banter, I can click on this little blue tile and it'll give me driving directions directly to them. Okay. And then our last tab at the top here is the stops tab. This is our most common view that we see people use. It's pretty simple. It's just a list of stops. It's got some icons to tell you what type of stop it is. And then the icons underneath the customer are the tasks that you have to complete. So here at the top, this Booze Clues customer here has a little storefront icon, meaning that this is a customer stop. And then underneath, there's a little paper icon here. These are the tasks that I have to complete for this stop. And the little paper icon is a sales invoice. So I know for each of my stops today, I'm just completing a sales invoice. All right, before we jump into these, let's talk about a few other things we see on the screen here. So at the top, we can see today's date and then this little calendar icon. And if I click on this little calendar, I can switch back and forth between days. So if I want to go look at my stops from yesterday, or if they're already in here and I want to look at my stops tomorrow, I can toggle back and forth. And then down at the bottom, this little today, it's kind of hard to see on here because it's gray, but this is really handy, especially if you toggle back and forth between days a lot, to make sure that when you're starting your day, this says today, that you're not on the wrong day. This little plus button here is great if, say, you get a call from a customer that you're not planning to stop at today, but they need an extra stop. You can add a customer interaction in here and get kind of the same view that you're getting for your other customers. So put in whatever customer you need to go see and then the tasks that you need to complete with them. And then last thing on here is this little message bubble. This takes you straight to eChat if your company uses that. And it will let you get to your directory and any messages that you have. Great. All right, so let's jump into our first customer stop here. So I'm just going to tap on Booze Clues. And that's going to bring us into our event view screen. So what this is a list of the tasks that you need to complete for this customer, and then a bunch of tools to complete those tasks. I want to point out that I am using an iPad for this, so my view might look a little bit different than what you're used to if you use a phone. This little menu on the right-hand side here is usually collapsed if you're on a phone, and this will be important too once we get into the actual invoice. I will point out where those differences are, but just a heads up, it might look a little bit different. At the top here, I've got some basic customer information, so their address, who this customer's primary contact is, and then any instructions for this customer. So for this one, I see a backdoor code for them, but this could really be anything. With these menu items on the right-hand side, we're not going to go through every single one of them today, but there's a few important ones here I want to point out. This first one being the customer information. If you need more detailed information about this customer, you need to edit something about them. If you have that permission, you can do that here. Customer notes is great as well. This is any notes related to this customer. It looks like some sales rep wrote something in here quite a long time ago, but you can keep a record of notes for the customer. And then a bunch of other options in here too, so make sure you take a look at those. All right, let's tap into our one task here. So we can see we just have our one sales invoice task. If I had other things to complete with this customer, like a display survey or placing an asset, whatever it may be, I would see other items underneath here in the list, but I just have the one for today. So I'm going to tap into my sales invoice. And that brings us to a list of invoices for this customer. There's only one open invoice for this customer right now, and I can see that this invoice ID that we're going to work on is going to be delivered on the 12th, so a few days from now. So I'm going to tap on this invoice here, and that's going to bring us into our invoice edit screen. There's a lot going on here. Let's talk about this list. So the products here that we see in this list is referred to as our usual products. So for this customer, the products in this list are going to be products that they have either purchased or inventoried in the last 180 days. That days, the number of days can be changed. So your company might be a little bit different. It could be shorter or longer, but by default, it is that 180 days. So this is a really long list of products that I have to look through to either order or inventory for this customer. There's a few different ways we can make this a little bit more digestible to find the products that we need. The first one is just by searching. Really simple. You can search for product ID or product name if you know what you're looking for. You can also tap on this little barcode icon up here if you have the product in front of you in the store and say you want to inventory that product or you want to purchase more of it. You can tap on this little barcode icon here and just scan the product and it'll bring it up in the list. If I don't have the product in the list that I'm looking for, I can also add products here. So if it's something they haven't purchased in a really long time or they've never purchased before, I can click on this little hamburger menu up in the top right here, and there's an add product button. And when I click on that, I get some options here, kind of similar to what we were just seeing of how I can find products. So I can search for them here. I've got some filtering options, or I can scan it too if that customer already has that product. But once I search for that product and find it, it's going to show up in the list here, and I get a little bit of information. This available inventory is going to be the inventory available at the warehouse, so letting me know how much we have to order for this customer. And to add it to that usual products list, I just need to click on this radio button here and click add to invoice. I can also just order straight from here. So if I know that I want to order however many cases of product for this customer, I can order straight from here and then add it to the invoice, and it does that automatically. I'm just going to add it for now. Now you notice that that long list of products that I had went away. That's just because we're focusing in on that product I just added, so I don't lose it in the list. But I can go back just by clicking the show full list. Okay. Back to kind of sorting these out. So along with searching, I also have this filtering options here on the right. So lots of built-in filters that you can use if you know that you're looking for maybe a certain package that you want to order for the customer from a certain supplier. You can filter this list down to whatever works best for you. But probably the most handy thing that you can do in here is sequence these products, especially when the list gets really long. And we have a few different ways you can do that. So at the top here, we see this sequencing dropdown, and you get a bunch of built-in different options. So I can sort by product name, product number, by the package if I want all of my packages grouped together, even sales volume if I want the customer's most popular products that they purchase at the top. But I also have this option to make a custom sequence. And what this does is it lets me sequence the products in this list based on the order that I do things. So let's say I'm at a really big customer and they have a ton of products on their shelves. And I just want to be able to walk up and down the shelves and take inventory as I see the products in front of me. That's going to be really hard to do with a really long list like this, having to scan each one or search for it or scroll through. So instead, what I can do is select this custom sequence option. And then over here on the right, I have a record new custom sequence toggle. And when I turn that on, I'm going to get the option now to have this sequence on the left-hand side. And I'm not actually clicking in these to put the actual numbered sequence in there. What I'm doing is going through the store, taking inventory, putting in purchases in the order that I want them. So if I'm walking up and down the shelves, and this is the first product I see, and this is my next one, and here's my next one, and then I take order or inventory or enter purchases in the order that I see the products, then I toggle off this record new custom sequence. And what happens is all of those products that I entered, they get reordered. So we can see there was already a sequence in here. So some of these are already sequenced, but the ones I just entered were all put in the same order that I just entered that inventory. So then next time I come back to the store, I don't have to go searching through the list. I can just walk up and down the aisles and take inventory in the order that I see the products, not only on the shelves, but also on my tablet or phone, which is pretty handy. Okay. Now, with all of these products on here, there's kind of a lot of information. It doesn't really tell us a whole lot about what it is. And here's one of the differences when you're on a tablet versus a phone. So I'm going to filter this down so we have something a little more specific to look at. So I'm going to pull up one of our demo suppliers here, Wind and Clouds. So we've got a few products here. And we've got some buttons and boxes down here that don't really tell us a whole lot of information. So I know that I've got two editable boxes here, inventory and purchase, and those are pretty self-explanatory. Inventory is going to be the inventory of the product at the customer's retail location, and then purchase is how much you want to order for them. Then I've also got a price, history, and then kind of an ominous dollar amount here, and then a colored box over to the side, but those don't really tell me what those are. When you're on a phone, either an iPhone or an Android phone, this is the view that you're going to see. And you can customize the buttons and information that shows up here. If I tap on this hamburger menu in the top right, there's a customize columns option here that lets me scroll through and pick the things that I want to see on this usual product screen. So right now, I have the product name, days of inventory, which was that colored box we saw off to the right. And that's going to be the estimated days of inventory that the customer has of that product. Our inventory and purchase boxes here. And then I also had the price button, history button, and that kind of ominous dollar amount that we saw was the full price of the product. I can choose to remove these things if I don't care about the full price. I can take that off of there. And maybe I want to see the last time they purchased this product instead. At the top here, I'm going to get a little preview of the things that I picked so I can see that full price is replaced with the last purchase. Then all I have to do is back out and it's going to update that for me. Perfect. Now, it would be crazy to put all of those things on that tiny little screen. This is a lot of stuff. So instead, I put the most important things here, but if I need more information about this product, I can just tap on the product name. So let's tap into this top one here. And this is the product detail screen. This is going to give me a lot more in-depth information about this product and the customer's interaction with this product. So for this silly strawberry seltzer, at the top here, I've got the same product name, package, product ID, basic stuff. But to the right here, I have this little eye icon. And when I click on that, I get some more information about it. Things like the on-hand inventory at the warehouse, if we have an estimated date that we plan to receive this product again at the warehouse, the full price, lots of other information in here about the product. And then I also have two buttons down here, sell sheet and knowledge. If they're uploaded for this product, if you have something from the supplier or your company has something in knowledge, those buttons will show up here. If I click on sell sheet, it'll pull up the sell sheet for this product that I can help talk to the customer about this product, help them buy something new. Same thing with knowledge. If my company has something in here, this one in particular is more in-depth brand information. If I want to get more in-depth with the customer, I can do that here. And then underneath, we've got a bunch of different widgets here, and these all kind of give me different information. Now, this might look a little different than maybe the one that you're seeing, because again, this is customizable. So at the top here, I have this little edit pencil. And here I can drag and drop and add and remove things that I do or don't want to see. So there's a few that you can't remove. They have to be on there, and those are the ones that you don't see that little minus sign. But I can drag and drop if I want my sales history to be at the top, and maybe I don't really care about potential promotions. I can remove that and move that down to the list that doesn't display. Let's talk about a few of these on here. So this first one at the top, this inventory widget. The inventory box here is the exact same inventory box you see out here. The only difference is I get a little more detail here. So off to the right, I have this little detail toggle. And when I toggle that on, what that lets me do is walk throughout the store and take inventory in different places and not have to add it up in my head. So if I walk up to the display of this silly strawberry seltzer first, and there's 10 cases on the display, then I can walk back to the back stock, and maybe there's 5 cases in the back stock, and maybe there's 4 cases on the shelf. And I could add this all up in my head and just put it in the box on the other screen that we were just looking at, or I can do it here, toggle this off, and it does it for me. No math for me today. All right, moving down, we're going to skip this sales history here because there's no sales history for this product. This customer hasn't bought anything yet. If there was, there would be a week or day history of how many cases this customer has purchased and how many have been inventoried for this customer, so you can keep track of the history. And then this next widget down here is our purchase widget. This purchase box here, again, is the exact same purchase box that we see on this screen. The difference is we have a couple more options here. So I can just order product here, just like I could on the other screen. But let's say that this customer had some of these cases already on their shelves and 2 of them went out of code. They want us to replace those with some new product. So what I can do is put in the number that I want to replace. So 2 cases that we're going to order for them as a replacement. And then I can click this trade out button. And what that does is it's going to create a second invoice transaction automatically to return that product that is out of code. It's going to ask me for a reason of why I'm trading it out. And my company uses this OOC out of code. So I'm going to tap that. And now that created the 2 transactions I need to order the new product as a replacement and return the 2 that were out of code. That's kind of handy. All right, moving down. We're not going to go through all of these today. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. They've got some good labels on them. Some history down here, the last purchase and inventory that they made, pricing, some inventory information down here. Again, this is demo data, so they have a ton of inventory ready for them with 570 days. But take a look at those. We're not going to go through each one of them. Let's back out here and put in some purchases for this customer. So we're just going to order a bunch of these wind and cloud products here. They're brand new. This customer wants to put them on the shelves. So I'm just going to go down the line in this purchase box and put in some cases that I want to purchase. Okay, so this pop-up that we got here is telling me that this product has to be back ordered. It's saying that we don't have any more of this product on hand. So the warehouse is out of it. So it's asking me, do I want to back order this seltzer? And because I have special permissions, it's also asking me if I'd just rather force it. And what force means is I know, say, this product is going to be coming in tomorrow. We're going to get a new shipment of it. So I know we can fill it before they get this delivered. I can force this onto the invoice instead, knowing that it's going to get filled, or I can choose to back order it. I know this is coming in, so I'm just going to force it. And then let's do our last one here. Perfect. So I'm done with this customer. I've taken all my inventory. We've ordered all the products that they need. And I'm going to back out of this invoice edit screen. And it's going to happen really fast, but you'll see a little loading screen that's going to be that auto sync. So this information that's getting uploaded to the server. It was really hard to see because it goes so fast, but all of that information that I just entered is now already on the server. All right, so that takes us to our invoice total screen. This is going to be where you're going to review all of the information with the customer before you leave. So at the top, we've got the invoice number and their invoice total, and then the list of products that they ordered. We see those 2 invoice transactions here for that strawberry seltzer, the 2 that we're returning that were out of code. We know that it's a return or a negative because it has that parentheses around it. And then the 2 that we're ordering for them as a replacement, and all of the other products that we ordered. Now on the sales side at this point, there's really nothing else I need to do on this screen. I'm not taking any payment at this point because I'm not delivering this product, we're just ordering it. I don't need a signature because we haven't delivered it yet. I could potentially print them like a pre-invoice if I wanted to, but there's really nothing else I need to do at this point. I can go ahead and just back out. It's going to bring us back to that same invoice list screen here. If this customer had split invoicing, say that they wanted their beer products on one invoice and their NA products on another invoice, and we had that split invoicing set up, we would see those here already. Encompass would already do that at this point. There's no split invoicing in this instance, so we still just have our one invoice, but we see the total cases for the invoice and then the amount due for that invoice as well. We're going to back out again. And it's going to bring us back to our event view screen here. It's going to ask us a question. It's asking us if we're done with this sales invoice task. My company has a couple of options here. I've got completed if I'm done, or I have a do not pick invoice not complete. This one does not show up for everybody. This is something that your company can set up if they want to. Basically, this would just mean that I need to go do something else in the app. I'm not quite done with this customer's invoice yet. Don't start picking it, I'm not done. I am done with this though, so I'm going to hit completed. And what we can see is our little task icon filled in here, indicating that it's complete. And if I back out to this screen again here, I can see that on this screen as well, that little bubble filled in. Okay, we're going to pretend that we went through our other sales stops today, but I want to show you delivery as well. So we're going to skip these. So I'm going to back out here. And what I would be doing at the end of my sales stop is coming back to the home screen. And if I have that clock in, clock out permission, all I need to do is click clock out. Encompass will sync for me. It will let the warehouse know that I'm done. It does everything with that one button. If I don't have that, I do need to click on sync. And I have 2 buttons on here. So one is just the plain old sync, but then I have a route complete button at the bottom here as well. The difference between the 2, they are both a full manual sync, but the route complete is going to change the color of my route on Delivery Optimizer so that the warehouse managers know that I'm done. So I can either clock out and it does it for me, or I can hit route complete here. It's going to do the same thing. It's just going to do a full manual sync. It just has one slight difference on the server that they know that I'm done for the day. So we're going to wait for this to sync here. Might take a little bit longer, especially if you had a really long day. Perfect. So I can see down here all of the information I just uploaded with my load sheets and that the sync is complete. If something was wrong and maybe I was past like the order cutoff time, I would get a big red error here that would tell me what's wrong and what I need to do. We're good to go though, no red error, so I can head back home. All right, we're gonna switch gears. We are no longer the sales rep, we are gonna switch to the delivery rep now. However, same thing, you're mostly just gonna live in my day. So I'm gonna tap back into my day here, and I'm gonna pick our delivery plan. And this is gonna look pretty darn similar. The only difference I really see here is that because this is a delivery route, I have a few extra things to complete on here. I have a couple other items on here that have a different icon. So instead of this little storefront icon, I have different ones here, and they are my pre-trip, post-trip surveys, and then a break time. These are what we refer to as assignments in Encompass. And these are things that aren't customer specific, but still need to be completed by the person running this route. So this person is probably driving some sort of truck and needs to complete these DOT pre and post trip surveys. We're going to skip them today because I'm not in a truck. So we're going to pass on those. But essentially, we're seeing the exact same thing. So across the top, we've got those 3 views. Looks exactly the same as the sales side. But we see a total up here now. So because these have already been sold and we're delivering these invoices, I get kind of a summary at the top here. So I can see that I'm delivering a total of 44 units today. And the invoices total up to $714.20. As I move through each of my stops, these totals down here, the cash total and check total, will increase as I take payment. Otherwise, everything else is the same on here. So let's tap into our first customer, this Tipsy Corner number 3. Again, I get the same screen that I did on the sales side. The only difference here is I have this total at the top. So I've got a total of 23 units that I need to deliver for this customer. And then the dollar amount for their invoice or invoices. So let's tap into our delivery invoice. And this screen does look different. So on the sales side, we just had that list of invoices that we could click on. Here we have a couple tabs at the top and some buttons at the bottom. So these buttons at the top here, the invoice list is what we saw on that sales side. Really nothing special happening here, just the list of invoices. The product summary is going to be the list of products on all of the invoices that you're delivering for today. So I can see for this 19th anniversary golden ale, there's 6 cases that I'm delivering and so on. I can also see the pallet ID here. So if your guys' pallet IDs are slapped on the side of that pallet, this might be helpful to find the one that you're looking for. And then the AR summary is going to let me see any overdue AR, what's due today, and historical invoices as well. So if I wanted to go print off an old invoice for them, maybe they don't have it anymore, or they lost it, I can go print off some old ones for them or email them. All right, so let's go back to the invoice list here. If I knew that this delivery was perfect, we had all of the cases that we needed, the customer was good to go, I didn't need to collect any payment from them because of their payment term, I can complete everything from this screen. Back up. If I check this little box, I can sign the invoice down here and be completely done with this delivery. I am not that confident today, so I'm going to tap into this invoice and we're going to make sure everything is good to go. This screen again should look really familiar. Same exact invoice total screen that we saw on the sales side, except now we have some things we need to pay attention to down here at the bottom. So again, we got that same summary up here at the top, the invoice total and the invoice number, the products on the invoice, everything looked good to go for this delivery. They got all of their products, everything looked great. So we need to move down to the payment section. So for this customer, we can see this terms here of pay on delivery, meaning that as a delivery driver, I'm expected to collect payment from them at the time of delivery. So I've dropped off their product here, and I know that I need to collect this amount from them, and they have given me a check. So in this payment type box here, I've got the options that I can collect for the specific customer, and they give me a check, so I'm going to select check. The next is the check number box, so I'm going to put in the check number that I see on that check. and then the amount received. Now, this is really important that you're putting in the exact amount that's on the check or the exact amount of cash that they gave you, not what is due. This is going to be really important later because it will affect your company's deposits. So exactly what is on the check, not what you think they should be paying. They did give me the right amount though, so I'm going to put in $365.75 and click done. Perfect. I've collected payment, delivered the product. At this point, I'm ready to collect that customer's signature. So I can click the signature button here. The customer is going to use their finger to sign, and then I'll hit confirm. And what happens after you collect that signature is that this invoice locks. So what that means is I can no longer make any changes to the products on the invoice or the payment that I collected. And that's because this is a legal document. I don't want any changes to be made after that customer has already signed off saying that, yes, this is all correct. These are the products I received. This is the payment I gave, right? So once it's locked, that's it. If something did need to be changed, you would need to reach out to your office and have them unlock that. But you really should not do that unless you're standing in front of the customer and can get a new signature. Okay. All right. So we've collected payment, dropped off the product. We're ready to print this in the final invoice for this customer. So if you have a printer hooked up to your device, you can click this print button here to print that off for them. I'm not hooked up to one, so I'm not going to click it. You can also add images here as well, which we'll see here in just a minute. So I'm not going to go through that quite yet. Let's back out of the screen here. And we can see that little lock icon, meaning this invoice is locked. We've got the signature. We're good to go. Back out again. And we're going to get that same prompt. This time I only have two options, completed and canceled. I am completed with this delivery. I'm done with this customer, so I'm going to hit completed. All right. Let's back out to our day here. And on our way to our next customer, we ran into some bumps and some weird things happened. So we are going to have some issues when we get to this customer. So let's tap into our delivery invoice here. And here's our one invoice. I click into the product summary and I see that this 19th anniversary golden nail that I'm supposed to be taking into the customer, a few of them broke on the way to the customer. So I can't deliver them broken product, and I'm not going to make them pay for the product that I broke on the way, right? So we have to be able to edit that invoice for what they're actually receiving. Okay, so because there's quite a few products on here and some weird stuff going on, I'm going to print myself a bill of lading before I walk inside so I know what I'm supposed to be taking with me. So down here at the bottom, if I click this print invoices button, I get some options on here. So I can print that bill of lading, print a scan sheet. I'm not going to print the invoice quite yet because we haven't made those changes and we want to make those changes before we print. So again, I'm not connected to a printer, so I'm not going to actually click it. But if I click this print bill of lading, it would print off to my handheld printer with all the products I need to pull off of the truck. All right, I've got that. I'm good to go. I know how many products are broken, so I need to edit this invoice. So I'm going to tap on the invoice here, and that brings me back to this invoice total screen. But there's nowhere for me to edit on here, so I have to get back into that invoice edit screen. Two ways I can do that. First, I can click on the hamburger menu and click on invoice edit here at the top. Or if I know I'm editing this 19th anniversary golden ale, I can click directly on this product name, and it'll take me right to that product in the list. Okay, so originally they were purchasing 8 units of this 19th anniversary golden ale. I broke 4 of them on the truck. So to fix this, I need to put in on their invoice what I'm actually delivering to them, not necessarily what I'm taking back, what they're actually getting. So I'm going to change this 8 to a 4 because I broke half of them. And when I click done, it's going to ask me why I changed this. It's going to ask me for a reason. And this is the list of reasons my company gives me to choose from. And I see this breakage one, which yes, I broke all 4 of those cases. So I can click on breakage, and that's going to update my invoice. So I've got the 4 cases now. Now, while I'm inside this customer, they also let me know that they have an empty keg for me to take back. Now, I can search my list here for empty. I don't have anything, so I'm going to have to add that empty cake product to the invoice edit screen here. So I'm going to click on the hamburger menu in the top right, click on add product, and now I can search for that empty keg. So I've got a few options in here. The keg I see in front of me is a half empty keg, so I'm going to click on this radio button. And when I'm returning something, it needs to go in as a negative. Not if like it's breakage, where I'm just changing the number that I'm actually delivering. If I'm taking something that was not on the original invoice back to the warehouse, it needs to go in as a negative. So I'm taking back one keg, so I need to put in a -1 and hit done. It's going to again ask me for that reason code. This is an empty keg, so I'm going to pick that empty keg reason and add it to my invoice. The reason we do that, because many of your companies, including mine, have a keg deposit. So when I take back that empty keg, Encompass is automatically going to reimburse them for that deposit that they put in for that keg. Okay, so I've fixed the breakage that I had on the truck and then put my empty keg back on here. So I'm done editing this invoice. I can hit back and go back to my invoice total screen, and I can see that my invoice changed. So I've got a new line item for that empty keg. It's in parentheses because it's a negative going back to the warehouse. And then I can see the change to my 19th anniversary golden ale as well, that they're only getting 4 cases instead of 8. Okay. We've got all of our product figured out. We've got it inside. We need to move on to the payment side now. Now, this customer has a term of fintech, which is an electronic payment. And something really important about this section, the payment section, is that you're only entering what you're actually collecting. So I can't physically hold a fintech payment, so I'm not going to put anything in this section because I didn't actually collect anything. This is really important for your electronic payments to work correctly. If I just put in that I collected the $247.85, we would never charge the customer for this invoice because it looks like it's already been paid. So you need to leave this blank so that electronic payment can be sent later. So I can go ahead and just collect signature. So I'm going to tap on signature here, have the customer sign, tap confirm, and again, that locked our invoice. So no other changes can be made to this. I can't, after the fact, put in a payment. I can't change any of the products on the invoice. This is now locked. All right. I can either print off their final invoice from here, or again, I can do that from this page as well. If I click on print invoices, I have that print invoice option. All right, I'm going to back out to our event view screen here. It's going to ask me if I'm done. Now I am completed with this task. I'm going to fill in my little bubble. I'm going to head back to the screen here. Okay, so at the top, we can see that these totals did change. I didn't collect any cash today, so that stays as 0. But I do see that I have a check total of $365.75. This is a good double check for me when I get back to the warehouse, that I make sure I have those things in my money bag or whatever it may be to take into the office. Okay, we're going to say I completed my post-trip survey. I'm done for the day. And we're going to head back to that home screen. Now, if there are tasks that I did not complete for the day that were required of me, I'm going to get this pop-up that says you have unfinished events. Obviously, these DOT surveys are incredibly important. So if I were in an actual truck, I would need to go back and complete these surveys. Not in a truck, so we're going to dismiss these today, but that's what will pop up if you're supposed to complete those. All right, I'm done with my delivery route for the day. Same thing like on the sales side. If I have this clock in, clock out permission, I would just click the clock out button, and that would manually sync for me, and it would let the warehouse know that I'm done with this route. Or I can just head into the sync button here and click on route complete. This is again going to sync everything. We're going to see the progress as it's going. And just like on the sales side, if there was any issue with my load sheets or anything on my plan for the day, I would get a big red warning. But I don't have any issues. I see the kind of summary down here for my stops for the day, the total money that I collected, and the number of cases that I delivered. You can see this did change from my original amount of cases that I took because I broke some. And so those will be reconciled once I get back to the warehouse. All right. That is all I have for you guys today. Those are kind of the basics of the sales and delivery side. I highly recommend that you go in and click around and look at some of those buttons in the different menus, as well as on the home screen here. There's some great information in the sales execution button here, and you can also access a lot of customer information from the customers button. So highly recommend you kind of go click around and take a look at some of those things. But at this point, I will pause for questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Jossie, for presenting. We do have some time for some questions, so I'm going to leave that open for just a second. So please throw them in that Q&A or that chat, and we'd be happy to answer them. While we are waiting on that, I do want to post a few announcements as well. Right after this webinar, there is a survey that will get sent out, and we would really appreciate your feedback if you have a moment to take that. An email will also be sent to you as a follow-up with that survey. So if you don't have time now, we get it. You can do it later. If you are looking for any other recordings, like a Skills Kickstart for Encompass Mobile Basics on Warehouse, you can find that on the recording archive page, as well as this one. This will be uploaded by the end of the day today as well. So if you want to go back and refresh, you can always go there. Or if you do have any additional questions, I would highly recommend taking a look at our customer portal, asking Bev, because she's really eager to learn, or any other help resources. So with that said, I'm going to see if there are any other questions that came in. I'm not seeing any, so I'm going to do last call. Alrighty, I'm not seeing any pop in right now. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and end this, and thank you again, Jossie, and for everybody who attended today.
Thanks, everybody.